How do you lead your one-person business like a pro? That is what we are talking about today because nothing drains your confidence like hustling for 10 hours only to realize your real work never even started. We chase visibility but forget we must be the CEO of our own focus. You don't need more funnels or DMs. You need a system that lets clients see your value before you even say a word. You need to lead your one-person business like a pro. Who am I? My name is Mong'are, and on the Freelancers mic today, we help B2B coaches and consultants build predictable visibility to land high-value clients. And to steal the best systems, I brought in the best perfect expert, Stephen Puri, with over 20 years leading remote teams as an EVP at DreamWorks, VP at 20th Century Fox, and 3 times tech CEO. He now runs the soccer community, teaching thousands how to find focus. He's breaking down the secrets big corporations nail about remote work. And look, if you're listening to this episode and you're realizing your own visibility system is a bit chaotic, go to my show notes and grab my 360-degree broadcast visibility roadmap. It's the exact framework we are talking about today, moving from busy to pro CEO. Stephen, welcome to the show. We are excited to have you here. And now that the audience knows your impressive background, we have bragged about. Yeah, they're wondering you're bragging about Stephen. So I'm curious. You went from leading massive high-tech teams at DreamWorks and Fox to building a productivity platform for individuals. I want to know, what's the biggest shock you found in how teams of one operate compared to the structure of a major studio?
Let me first say thank you for inviting me on. I hope this is an episode that is both entertaining and also very actionable with some like real thoughts that can be applied, right? About how to get your work done and be in more control of your day. What was interesting for me is, as you mentioned, I've worked at motion picture studios and I also went back into technology, which is where I started. I got into film because I was an engineer and film went digital. So computers were making film. And that was my transition. So then I started making film. So I went back recently into technology. And here's the thing that stood out for me. There are so many distractions. There are so many ways to be not in control of your day. And it feels so good the days where you finish early, you've done good work, you have time to do what you want to do, you feel energized. It feels so bad the days where you end the day with the work unfinished and you think, oh, I have to start earlier tomorrow to catch up, or I have to work tonight after dinner to catch up. And you're not in control of your day. And I realized I had seen some very high performers in film and in tech and how they managed their day to be in control of it and do very high quality work in a short time. And that's a lot what I lecture about. It includes work on flow states, how to be mindful and sustainable with your productivity. And as you know, this is even more important to me because I just had my first child and it makes your time even less available. You have to be really focused. If you have 2 hours to get something done, you need to get it done in 2 hours because someone needs to be fed, So yeah, that is a lot of why I transitioned and I talk now about here's some great tips on how to be productive and be in control of your day.
I feel that there is a friction point. We escape the corporate rules and all that, but sometimes we end up losing in some areas. So you argue there's one thing big corporations get right about remote work that we tend to throw out the window. What's that thing, and how can a freelancer, a B2B coach, a consultant, or anybody listening to this episode can steal it without needing an HR department?
Well, here's something that I've encountered a lot with corporations that use freelancers, that employ freelancers to do work, right? Frequently, the freelancers are remote, right? Because we have someone coming in job to job, they don't necessarily have to be in the same office every day, year after year. So remote work, which became much more popular in the pandemic, right? Suddenly, Zoom became a verb and, we were all distributed. Remote work leads leaders, managers to sometimes feel fear because they don't know necessarily what everyone's doing. They can't walk around and, manage by walking around. And I talked to a number of managers who approached me through the platform, through Suka, and they say, oh, this tool helps people, my people be more mindful. How can I use this? And usually you end up talking about what's the problem? Tell me what it is you want to solve. And a lot of them say, well, I just don't know what people are doing, but I want them to be more productive, right? So here's the funny thing. If you bring the people onto your team who care about the mission, who care about what you're doing, and they understand your culture, which is, your culture is how do you treat each other? How do you treat your customers? How do you treat your competitors, right? And if people care about those two things, they can be full-time employee, they can be remote, they can be distributed, hybrid, whatever you want to call it. And they're more engaged. But if you hire someone who's simply just going job to job, just trying to make $50 here, $300 there, like why would they even be engaged in your mission? Why do they even care? So what I often tell managers and leaders when dealing with remote, fear is, hey, are you bringing the right people in? If you are trying to solve, climate problem, or if you're trying to solve a medical problem, or if you're trying to solve, are you hiring people who actually care about that? Because if you do, you don't have to worry what they're working on. They care. Like if we're trying to cure cancer and I bring you in and you have some family relationship to cancer and you care, I don't really have to know what you're doing at 2 o'clock on Tuesday to be aware that you're working on moving the ball down the field. If that makes sense. So a lot of it is hiring. It's like associating the right people with the right job. It's not about being in an office together. And I think work can be redefined around the effect of your actions as opposed to where you took them, what time of day, that sort of thing. It doesn't have to be about being in this office from 8 in the morning to 6 at night. It really works to be measured by the thing you did. Did it change the company?
Wow. I love that. And let's just say that it's all about professionalizing that one company.
Very true.
I know you mentioned in your note that you picked up some amusing stories from your time running the things. What's the strategy? Take us back to the DreamWorks lot. Was there a specific moment of fun disaster that taught you the biggest lesson about leadership that actually applies to consultants, freelancers, or anybody listening to this who feel they have to do everything themselves?
Well, here is the thing that I hear all the time. This is not just my experience, but I've heard it from so many people, which is the world has evolved to where we have the perfect distractions, the technology built to distract you that knows you incredibly well. So it's very effective at distracting you. And therefore, whether you are the actual freelancer, whether you are the contractor doing the design, doing the writing, doing the technology, doing the coding, whatever, or you are a leader, you're losing to this because let us be very honest. The highest market cap companies, their business model is steal your life. When you look at TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, their business model is simply, how can we make sure you don't do anything with your life? You give it to us. It is as if Mark Zuckerberg called you up and said, Ludia, I would like your life. I'm going to sell it to these advertisers. I'm going to keep the money, but I will give you in exchange some dancing cat videos. Is that good? And that's astounding when you think about it that way. But that is what these companies are offering. And so here's the thing is, because technology has evolved to have a really, really good idea of what you want. Like as soon as you watch one YouTube video or watch one TikTok video or one, Facebook post, its algorithm knows you so well, it will give you the next thing that's exactly what you're looking for. And then it's very hard to stop. And it's an infinite scroll, right? Yeah. So that is the problem that I've found greater than any other one is we have spent so much money building up these companies whose business models make sure you waste your life. So what do you need? You need tools as powerful as those to say, I'm not going to waste my life. That's what I care about.
Well, that's a good way to frame it. And I think you're also right. Sometimes the biggest problems have the simplest answers. And that leads perfectly into the main struggle of freelancers, the focus. Like you go to a video, you are looking for something else. You go to TikTok, LinkedIn, and then in a few minutes, you've already forgotten. So as a solopreneur, it's just me, mm-hmm. the fridge. How do we structure a day of deep creative focus and protect that high value time when there is no external manager enforcing it? Walk us through your ideal deep work blueprint. Like,
Well,
I do not have anybody. It's me going throughout my day. I may decide to go sleep.
let's talk about this because you are not alone. Like I also work essentially for a small company. I run a small company. Everyone that I work with is distributed. So it's very different than when you sit in an office and there's a manager who stands over you and tells you what to do all day long, right? Here, like you said, there are a number of problems. There is how do I organize my day? How do I maintain my energy? And then there's okay, how do I work without distraction, right? But it's a number of things that have to go well for you to be productive. So let's talk about those. There's a very strong principle about how you start your day, which is you need to be realistic and have intention. If you say, I'm going to do these 10 things, these 12 things, you're not being realistic. All you're going to do is be frustrated at the end of the day because you can't do 10, 12, things, right?
Yeah.
One thing that we did in, the platform we built is we said, choose your 3 things for this session, right? What are the 3 big things you need to get done? So in the morning, as a freelancer or as any sort of independent contractor, is you need to establish for yourself your priority system. What is important and what is urgent? And then write that down, even if you just put it on a piece of paper and put it up by your computer. Today, I have to update my blog. I have to finish the designs for this. I need to code this feature or find this bug, whatever. Write it there, and simple. If it's a long list, you're not going to do it, and it's going to paralyze you looking at a long list where you're like, oh my God, there's so many things to do, right? It's really hard, right?
Yeah.
So just choose those 2 or 3 things and focus on that. Okay. So that's number 1. Number 2 is as you talk about organizing your day and maintaining your energy level, there is only a certain amount of time that you can use your brain before your brain, the marginal value of each moment goes down, right? Because your brain is like a muscle. It has certain kind of fuel. There's a very good Huberman lab about the brain glucose levels and how after about 90 minutes, they really decay. It's harder to think at 120 minutes than it was at minute 1, right? Your brain is getting tired. So what does that mean? There's a great technique called the Pomodoro technique, which is named that because you can just use the guy who created it used a kitchen timer that was shaped like a tomato, and tomato is called Pomodoro in Italian, right? So that concept is, work for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break. Work for another 25, take a 5-minute break. On those 5-minute breaks, do something healthy. Breathe for 5 minutes. Go get a glass of water. Go for a brief walk. Stretch. Do something to refresh. So when you go into the next 25 minutes, you're doing them almost like it's minute 1, not like it's minute 30, right? So this notion of how do you take mindful breaks and refresh yourself, really important. There used to be this hustle culture of the 1980s of, if you're not working 16 hours a day, you're not serious about work. Guess what? The amount of work you did from hour 15, hour 16 was basically worthless because you probably were not moving quickly and whatever you created was not as good as hour 1, right? So how do you take shorter period of time and do your best work in that shorter period of time rather than try to work 16 hours? Like as a freelancer, the more work you do, the more money you get. So there's an incentive to do more work, right? So how do you then do more work in a compressed way? And this is why I talk a lot about flow states. I know there are some, in your audience that are listening that are very familiar with flow states. They're becoming very popular, this idea of how to manage your brain and your energy. I know that there are probably some that have heard about it but don't know. So let me just establish what it is so we're all on the same footing. So there was a Hungarian-American psychologist, this guy, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. He wrote a book about this because he had a thesis. He said, if you talk to high performers in very different disciplines, artists and athletes and scientists and inventors and all this, when they talk to you about the very concentrated states that they go into, when they do the thing that makes them famous, the thing that we know them for, they talk about these states in very similar ways, even though what they're doing is very different. He said, there's something interesting there. What is that thing, right? So he did his research, he did all the interviews. At the end of it, he wrote that book, and the book is called Flow. It is the work on this. It is from whence we get the term flow state. And he said the greatest thing. He said, I chose this word flow because it was the most beautiful metaphor for what I found. We are all on the river, paddling to move ourselves forward. But if you align your boat with the current, it carries you. It magnifies your efforts and you go further and faster. And he said, that is what these high performers have figured out how to do. He admitted a lot of them have their own name for it. They don't call it flow. Like Michael Jordan, who's a famous basketball player, he called it being in the zone, right? And he said, when I'm in the zone, it's just me and the ball. And it's a great way to say, all the distractions fall away. I just have to control this ball and my team will win, right? And there are quotes from Picasso and Einstein and all these people who talk about this state. So when Mihai had come to the point of writing this book, he said, let me tell you what this state is, where these people do amazing things. He said, it's characterized by they lose track of time. It's not staring at the clock, waiting for 3:00 to happen, right? They lose track of time. They do their best work in less time. Distractions fall away. They're not thinking about opening TikTok or, doing something silly like that. He said, it's also interesting, in addition to doing their best work in shorter time, when they're done, they feel uplifted. They feel like energized or joyful, as opposed to depleted, like, oh, I need a nap. That was so hard, like, and he said, it's very interesting, this flow state. Now, since he wrote that book, there have been very, very smart people who have written, books and done research on particular parts of this. Like, how does music help you get into a flow state? How can you organize your mind? Like, what time of day? Like, and the Newports and Near, like, these people have done amazing work. So anything here that we share in this podcast that is helpful basically comes from someone who has spent their life understanding how the neuroscience of flow state works.
My audience, most of them want to land those high ticket clients every month. They want to have high ticket clients. How does having these corporate level systems, this commitment to structure, actually help us show up better, build authority, and win those bigger contracts? We were speaking about creating a contract, but now how do we win those bigger contracts?
Well, I'll tell you, this is something I've seen very high performing teams do, and it may or may not apply, which is teams and leaders that do appreciate flow states, where you can accomplish more in less time and you do very high quality work, right? There are some things that people have researched, which is to be in a flow state, to be doing this, it doesn't happen instantly. You don't say, oh, hey, Ludia, sat down, I'm in a flow state now. It takes 15 to 23 minutes for your brain to drop into this state. And if you get interrupted, you have another 15 to 23 to get back to that, right? So you have to reserve like an hour or two to say, I'm going to do this deep work, as Cal Newport would say. I'm going to do this thing, go deep, and I want to be in a flow state. So often to get into a flow state, music has been shown to help. There are some kinds of music. For most people, the sweet spot is music that is 60 to 90 beats per minute. It's ambient, non-vocal. There's no singing. You can't sing along with it. It's rhythmic. It has long passages. And there's also research on like times of day. Like we have, there's a notion of chronotype, which is simply the concept. There are times of day when you're more adept at certain kinds of things. And if you know your chronotype, you may realize, oh, I'm a freelance graphic designer. I'm a copywriter. I'm a musician. Whatever you may do as a contractor. And you may find, oh, you know what? I write my best original copy early in the morning or late at night or, this time of day. And as you track that for a week or two, what you do and how well you do it, you start to see your patterns. Where you're like, oh, I should always be doing my copywriting from 9 to 11 in the morning. I should always be doing meaningless work, paying bills, setting out contracts in the afternoon, like just mindless kind of stuff. But the really like amazing things I should do maybe late at night. So these ideas about how you manage your day and yourself really contribute to how can you spend time then and say, I'm going to clear my calendar. So in the morning, say from 9 to 11, I want to be in a flow state. I want to do, the work that keeps the clients coming back and attracts the higher ticket. Oh, 100%. It is before you look at your emails in the morning, before you look at your calendar and do all things, determine what is your intention. What is the important thing you're going to do today that moves your life forward? Start the day with that. Don't do anything. Don't have breakfast until you say, today, the most important thing I can do is this.
I love that. So this has been incredible. And I know someone who has been listening to us from the beginning is already thinking about how to apply all this that you've shared. So today we call it a day. You run the fantastic community, the Suka community. If people want to with you and access these tools for focus and flow, what is the best next step for them to connect with you?
Oh, okay. Two things. Number one, if anyone is listening and has a question, my email address is very public and I am here to help. My email address is Stephen, Steven, at the Sukha, which means, the happiness in Sanskrit, THESUKHA.co for company.co, right? Drop me an email. Who's the Hungarian guy? What can I read? Who's Cal Newport? Any question. Happy to help. Second thing, if anyone has something meaningful that they want to do, to do their work, requires an hour, 2 hours. We built a website that helps you focus. It plays beautiful, scientifically designed music to help you drop into flow. It has a wonderful community. It blocks your distractions. And you can find it at thesukha, THESUKHA.co. And it's free for 3 days. You can try it as much as you want. And if it helps you, sign up. If it doesn't, please let me know what didn't help and we'll continue to make it better.
I'm not sure you mentioned this, but I'm going to ask anyway. Is it a paid community or a free community?
It is $10 a month. But if there's someone that really benefits from it and they can't afford $10, just email me and I will work something out for them.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for bringing the boardroom wisdom of Hollywood into the freelancer's mic. And for you listening at home, if you're ready to stop the 10-hour hustle and want a pro to look at your current system, I'm opening up spots for my 360-degree feasibility audit. We'll find exactly where your leads are leaking so you can start landing those client opportunities. Check the links in the show notes. See you in the next episode. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Thanks, Lydia. Have a great evening.
You gotta step out of the darkness if you want to see the light.